Hey, what's up guys, it's a Tech Wally and this is the LG G Watch R. Last year, LG released their first wearable, the LG G Watch, which was a start, but it definitely wasn't a great smartwatch. The biggest problem for a lot of people was the design. It just didn't look good. Now LG is back to fix that with the circular LG G Watch R, the R standing for round. There are a lot of smartwatches out there already and all have their issues, but this one is supposed to do two things better than other smartwatches. It is supposed to not look like one, and it's supposed to have a better battery life. Well, let's find out in this review. Starting with the design, it has an aluminium and stainless steel chassis with a 22mm genuine leather strap. The strap can be replaced with any regular 22mm watch strap, which is awesome. I'm personally more a fan of metal straps, so I could just replace it with one. It only comes in the color black, but again, you can change its color with a different strap. I quite like the design, however it is way too big for me and I have small to medium sized wrists. The strap is fine, but the watch itself is huge. It has a 1.3 inch display with a pretty thick bezel, which does make it look like a normal watch, and it's one of the first smartwatches that is designed that way. I think this is even the biggest selling point of this watch, that it doesn't look like some weird display strapped to your wrists, and rather looks like something you would actually like to wear. Most of the people who saw the watch on my wrist even thought it was a regular watch, so design wise it fully succeeds of not looking so smartwatchy and looking more normal. The build quality of the chassis is very good, but the strap doesn't have such a great build quality. I have dropped and scratched it against the wall, and so far it doesn't have any scratches on the watch. The strap is already breaking a little bit where the buckle goes into the hole because I put it on and take it off often, but it did disappoint me a bit. I'm a watch wearer and I actually quite like wearing the G Watch R. It is pretty comfortable and also light compared to my metal watch, which I usually wear. The only problem I have is, as I mentioned before, it is way too large for me. If you're interested to see what's in the box and the accessories it comes with, I did a full unboxing video which is down below. Specs wise, it features a 1.3 inch OLED display, which is pretty small compared to other smartwatches due to the large bezel, but it wasn't a problem for me. It has a resolution of 320 by 320. It is also the first Android Wear smartwatch with a full circular display, because the Moto 360 has a small cutout at the bottom for all its sensors, which the G Watch R has in its bezel. Viewing angles are very good and I could also see the display in bright sunlight. The other specs include a quad-core Snapdragon 400 clocked at 1.2 GHz, half a gigabyte of RAM, 4 GB of internal storage, a 4100 mAh battery, of course it's running Android Wear, IP67 certification so you can wash your hands with it for example, and a heart rate monitor which works fine, but it did have some issues due to it being too big for my wrist. There's also a 4G variant, probably called the LG G Watch R2. That means it doesn't need the phone's internet connection, which is supposed to be announced in February. Performance was very good, 0 to very few lags, which were because of software problems and not because of hardware ones, but I did expect that from a smartwatch. Battery life generally is a problem with smartwatches, especially with Android Wear smartwatches, but this one actually keeps up quite well. It has an always screen on feature, which can be turned on or off. With the feature turned on, the screen dims but never turns off, and I usually get 1 to 1.5 days with medium usage. With heavy usage I get a day, and with light usage you can get 1.5 to 2 days with it. With the feature turned off, the screen turns off and you need to raise your wrist or tap the screen to turn it back on. You do get better battery life, around half a day more, which is pretty good, but I definitely prefer the watch being on all the time because I don't want to raise my wrist every time I want to check the time. For me, a watch needs to be glanceable, otherwise I can almost just use my phone. So for me, the battery improvement to annoyance ratio isn't worth it, to put it that way. Also, people always complain about the bad battery life of smartwatches, but I really don't get the problem. My watch's battery life is still better than my phone's, and it is useless without a phone. And since I never killed the G-Watch R in a day, I don't need such good battery life. I still have to charge my phone overnight, and whether I charge 1 or 2 devices doesn't really matter. Of course, this is just my opinion. The watch charges very quickly due to the small battery, which is good. The only annoying thing about the charging is that it can only charge with this little charging cradle. It isn't the best solution, but also not the worst. So the G-Watch R does have improved battery life compared to other Android Wear smartwatches, which usually last for a day or maybe slightly more. Now, of course, it is running Android Wear, which brings all the usual features. I actually was updated to 5.0 during my testing time. 5.0 brought this new cool feature that when I swipe away a notification, I have about 10 seconds to cancel it. Before, it was just gone and there was no way to get it back. And now I can also change the watch face directly from my phone. I had a lot of issues with Android Wear 4.4, however almost all of them have been fixed with the new update. Minor problems were, for example, that it just couldn't interact with notifications sometimes, but this has mostly been fixed. The biggest issue I had with it was that in dim mode, sometimes the display did not refresh until I interacted with the watch, so it displayed the wrong time, which is horrible for a watch which is made to display time, but luckily it was also fixed. I love the seamless integration of the watch and the phone. When I clicked open on phone, it almost instantaneously opened it on my phone, and notifications almost arrived at the same time on my watch as on my phone. Because it has a round display, I have encountered some issues where some text was cut off, for example, because Android Wear was made with a rectangular device in mind. I hope that they will find a solution for that, maybe different versions of Android Wear for different shapes of displays. Voice recognition was very good and worked almost at any noise level, but it doesn't wait long for you to speak. I only wish there were more Google Now commands, for example, OK Google, new Hangout 2, and then your message. Because weirdly enough, there's no way to start a new Hangout from your watch. You need to get out your phone and start texting from there. It's also a dream come true being able to talk to my watch. I only felt awkward talking to it in public. I always had to make sure nobody was around or nobody was looking. Sadly, there's also no multiple language support, which wasn't a problem for me, but I just wish it was there because I text in 3 different languages. LG has added some custom watch faces, which look nice, and you can even make it look like the Apple Watch. There are a bunch of apps for Android Wear out there already, and some of my favorites include Ringtone Remote, which lets me control my phone's volume, Wear Camera, which lets me use my watch as a shutter for my phone's camera, and I even have a full browser for it, which is just perfect for copying during exam. But my favorite app by far is Wear Mini Launcher, which organizes all my apps just one swipe to the right away. That solves the issue of always having to go through Google Now to get to my apps. So I can really recommend it, and everybody with an Android Wear device should get it. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can play tic-tac-toe on it. So far, Android Wear is very good. It has its problems, but it also brings a lot of features to the table. For the future, I just wish for more apps and more features. In the end, if you're a watch person, I can really recommend smartwatches in general, and I can recommend the G-Watch R if you're looking for a more stylish watch with a better than average battery life. However, do keep in mind that it is the most expensive Android Wear smartwatch out there right now, coming in at $300. It is definitely not necessary, but it's still an awesome gadget. I personally love smartwatches, the G-Watch R particularly, but it is a little too expensive for me. Now, smartwatches are already becoming the next big thing, and if you're looking to getting into the game, then the LG G-Watch R is definitely the most stylish way to go. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to drop me a like down below, share, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one. Bye.